my Z followers, and welcome back to the question where you have the questions and I have the answers. And I didn't plan on making a video today because obviously I have like a bunch of schoolwork to do now that we're doing like remote learning and whatever. But I thought it was really important to make this video, and so I was watching this video by the YouTube channel Selfless, and it was about the toxicity and negativity and harm that goes into doing humanitarian work. And it reminded me, because it is Earth Day, of the misconceptions behind like charity in the US and recycling, and the toxicity behind recycling and how much harm it can do if done improperly. So I thought I'd make a video about that. If you want to check out the video that I watched that inspired this one, I will probably put a link to it either at the end of this video or in the description. I don't know yet. Anyway, so first thing, because it's Earth Day, recycling. The whole phrase is reduce, reuse, recycle, and they say it that way in that specific order because recycling should be done last. And a big misconception is that those three words are interchangeable. You can use them at any time, but really you shouldn't. You should first reduce how much you use and how much you buy, and then reuse what you do have, and then recycle at the last possible option. And the reason that recycling should be like the last resort is because it's not a perfect system. One, because we haven't fully figured out what can and cannot be recycled, and two, it's a really touch and go kind of thing. So like, if you recycle perfectly, that does not mean that what you're recycling is actually going to go and be recycled. I know that sounds like really strange, but hear me out. So you know how like you pick everything up and one goes in one bin, one goes in the other. Well, if they find anything in that recycling bin, like in the whole like of the bin, because everything goes to the landfill. If you go to a recycling plant and they find one thing that isn't recyclable, that entire batch is now contaminated and they can't be used at all. So even if you recycle perfectly, the person next to you may not be, and therefore recycling is kind of like a wasted effort. I mean, it's a good, noble effort, but it's just like, even if you do it perfectly, if somebody else isn't, then it's not going to be recycled, which is a really like itchy and like awful issue. But also, a lot of recycling plants are also owned by the same people who own the landfills. So like, I think it was like in 2017 in Oregon, even if people did recycle, it would all go to the landfill anyway because it was owned by the same people. So it's like, once again, maybe even if you are recycling, it doesn't mean that it's actually going to make a difference, which sucks. And also, buying recycled products seems like a really big, noble effort, but at the same time, it's just a way for companies to create more revenue because they can make more money if they advertise something as recycled or as going green. And legally, they only have to recycle their products at least one time. So say you have a water bottle and you recycle the water bottle, they can go and use that plastic to make something new, like a new pair of sunglasses that is like maybe 50% recycled materials. And they can now charge more for those sunglasses because more people want to buy them because they're recycled and people think they're going green. But as soon as someone throws out those sunglasses, it doesn't have to be recycled anymore, and they can now use that ditching of the sunglasses, that breaking of the sunglasses, to make more sunglasses made of more wasteful materials. It's like a really big cycle, and I'm not saying you shouldn't recycle, I'm just saying that you should know that it's not a perfect system, and you shouldn't boast it as like a cure-all for the planet. You know, first of all, buy less. You don't need that extra car, you don't need those new shoes, you don't need that new skirt, and whatever. But also, like, support local businesses. So, like, if a big corporation is boasting recycle or green materials, you know, maybe try and get a more locally sourced, you know, green materials, because there's a better chance that the local store is offering actual recycled materials and is not benefiting from it as much as the big corporation, which comes down to the next thing, which is about charity, toxic charity. I know everybody likes to go and give to charity. You go and you see all these like reality TV shows or competitions, and they say, oh, if you win, you're gonna give like this donation to your favorite charity, and that's really nice and all. But also, a lot of charities are really corrupt, especially in the United States, and you really have to look into and research where it's going. Like, there's been a lot of issues with like things like locks of love, which you can donate your hair to make wigs for uh, kids with cancer, or the Red Cross has been another big one, which I have my own issues with the Red Cross that I'll get into probably later, or probably not at all. It's probably safer if I don't go into the Red Cross. But also, the reason that these charities can be so corrupt is because there's so like little laws pertaining to and controlling these charities. Like, anybody can start a charity, and the issue with like donating to charity and whatever is that you get tax cuts or tax breaks for donating to charity because it's an act of charity, but also it doesn't apply to everybody. So like, I'm technically a low income family. If we were to donate to charity, if we were to donate like clothing or something to the Goodwill, or food to the food bank, or money to like the Red Cross, for example, I can't think of any other charity, we would not get a tax break. But say the Kardashians donated like $1 billion to the Red Cross, or they donated like a car to something, then they would get a tax break even though they don't need it because they still are like millionaires, which is a big thing. But also, charitable foundations, they don't actually have to use what they're given for charity. There is no law stating that they have to give anything to charity. They can keep the money. Even like nonprofits can keep the money. And how they do that is once again, the loose sort of definition of what counts as charity. So like, say I am famous and I'm like a billionaire, and I start like the Evelyn Stoven Foundation. And if you donate charity to me, if you donate like money to me, my charity work, what that money could go to, could be a slight increase of an increased wage for the workers who work for my company. That counts as charity, and I still get tax cuts from it. So it's like, even if they're only like $1 above minimum wage, if I use that charity money to increase their wage from like, say, $15 an hour to like $17 an hour, that counts as charity, and I get a tax cut, which is super like fucked up, right? I mean, that's so unfair. You know, why are we cutting taxes for the wealthy for their fake charity? When people who actually go and donate to the food bank and donate to all these places can't get tax cuts because they're low income, when there really are the people who need tax cuts, you know? Okay, I think that is all I have to say. Just the summary is, please look into and really research what charities you are supporting and make sure that you know where that money is going. Because they don't have to. They don't have to actually use the money for what they say they're going to use it to, and that's really messed up. And also, recycle, but know that there are way better ways to save the environment than just recycling. You know, plant a tree in your yard. Destroy lawn culture. Don't just have a nice looking yard. Plant trees, plant gardens. You know, grow your own food. Do something that'll make a difference, that'll benefit the environment, not just recycling things that cannot be recycled. That's my PSA for the day. Have a happy Earth Day. Don't stress out too much about school. It's going to be fine. And I love you all. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes.